Good morning, all. I'm just checking if audio is okay.
Yes, okay. Yes.
Sir, I have a query, sir. Sir,
Hello, Bell.
Hello.
Can you share now?
Yes, I can share now. It seems
Not getting your
Yeah.
voice.
you cannot hear.
Just a minute. Yes. Can you share Bell now?
Yes, I think so.
Please.
Yeah.
So, are you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, friends. Welcome back to this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. As you know, it's a very important lecture series. Today we are going to have the 65th lecture. So that means we have completed the 64 lectures in this series. And I want to inform to the speaker that these 64 lectures, they have been delivered by very eminent persons. And not only on agriculture research, but also on policies, on health issues, on meditation, on motivation, on entrepreneurship, on many wide topics for the benefit of our students, for the benefit of our agriculture universities, professors, and many more, the ICAR policymakers. So many senior persons, they join on this platform. So it's really a great moment that today, again, we have a very eminent person. We have with us none other than the world authority in the farmers' rights. Swanhild Isabel Bata Torhim. I call her Belle Torhim. So welcome, Belle, for this important lecture series. And this lecture series, I can just tell you, it's for a very important cause. And that is, we are going to have this to celebrate India's 75 years of independence, which we are going to complete on 15th August 2022. Well, this platform is being used by our vice chancellors of the agricultural universities, being joined by many senior officers, the teachers, the professors, and our senior officers from Indian Council of Agricultural Research. And it is being live streamed also. So mostly to the students, we ask them to join through the live stream. And it is also live streamed in the auditoriums where multiple students, they just listen what the speaker is saying. Friends, let me just tell you briefly about Madam Belle Torhim. She is a senior policy advisor at the Norwegian Ministry of Agriculture and Food, which she joined in 2013. Her responsibilities are in the field of genetic resources, biological diversity, and sustainable development. She is the national focal point for the International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture, which we call popularly as ITPGRFA, and the FAO Commission on Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture, which we call as CGRFA. And she also participates in other international processes, such as the Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, the International Union for the Protection of Plant Varieties, which we call as UPOV, and the United Nations Food System Summit. She participated in the organizations of global consultations on farmers' rights in Ethiopia in 2011, and in Indonesia in 2016. She served in the Bureau of the ITPGRFA from 2015 till 2019, and is currently co-chair of the expert group on farmers' rights set up by the ITPGRFA, along with me. I am also the co-chair of this important ad hoc technical committee. Before joining the ministry, she worked 6 years in the Norwegian Development Fund on policy issues related to genetic resources and project support to community-based biological management. From 2005 till 2007, she was a junior professional officer at the United Nations Environment Programme in Nairobi, Kenya. She holds a master's degree in political science from University of Oslo, and her thesis analyzed the recognition of farmers' rights in the ITPGRFA. She has a very vast contribution in the farmers' rights, and she leads from the front when there is a issue of farmers' rights. She takes the lead, and I have found her one of the very powerful lady to say her words, to say her message. And today we have a very important topic, which is a global issue, which we often listen that the farmers' rights are really very important. So the topic is farmers' rights, a cornerstone for food security and the management of the seed diversity. As we know, without farmers' rights, we cannot have the food security, because the kind of genetic drift or the genetic diversity which we can maintain through farmers' rights is only possible. And the same thing is true for the seed diversity. So for getting this food security and the seed diversity, the farmers' rights is a must. And we have to listen to Belle that how best we can inform to the public that why this importance of farmers' rights is there. And also we can know what are the different provisions in different countries, and how this particular rights are being implemented through the farmers, this ITPJRFA also. So floor is yours, and you can take your own time. And then if you permit, in the end, we can have some 10 minutes discussion to reply to the questions of the audience. So thank you very much for joining, and thank you very much for accepting our invitation and to be part of the India's celebrations for this 75 years. Thank you. Thank you very much once again. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this invitation and the opportunity to tell about our joint work in FAO on this matter. And congratulations to India in regard to your 75th year of independence that's coming up later in a couple of months. And distinguished participants, I look forward to share some of the experience in this field. And I'm very humbled that I'm asked to give this lecture to India, where you have so much expertise, particularly like Dr. Swaminathan is one of the well-known researcher among many in India, particularly as the father of the Green Revolution. And later also what he called the Evergreen Revolution, taking into account the lessons learned from the Green Revolution, and in addition, actually, as his role in work on farmers' rights in the early stage. I don't know what do you see on my screen now. Do you see my PowerPoint? No.
Yes, we see. You can just put it in the projection mode.
Okay. Project mode. Is this okay?
Yes, it is okay. Can you just put it in the projection mode? We see a double screen.
I did. No, it's full screen here, but maybe you don't see full screen.
Okay. Okay, you can continue. There's no problem.
Okay, I continue. Thank you. Well, well, I'm not an academician, but I will then share more my experiences for being part of the process on farmers' rights. So, in my presentation, I will briefly tell about the origin of farmers' rights in the FAO discussions.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am.
Yes?
Sorry to interrupt you. Your PPT is not visible correctly. Can you please switch off the extended mode? Your system is in extended mode. I am able to see your two screens. Now it is perfect. Can you please make it in a slideshow mode? It is still in extended mode. Are you using Apple or
No.
Windows?
Windows.
Okay. Can you please press Window button from the keyboard along with P?
Along with what?
P as a Paris.
P, yes.
Now you are able to see duplicate and extend. Both the buttons together, ma'am. Windows plus P button. Yes. Only one is.
And I should have only screen.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'll try this. Now I see nothing.
Just leave it.
Now it all went black.
Press enter. Yes. Actually, we are getting two screens.
Let's try this. Is it better now?
There is no shared screen.
You can again share.
I hope this is better. Now I hope I only show
No.
one screen.
No, we are not seeing your screen. You can again share it. There's
And I
nothing being displayed.
continue.
Yeah.
So I will explain how farmers' rights are recognized in the International Treaty on Plant and Genetic Resources for Food and
Can you,
Agriculture, and some of the achievements and challenges that we are facing when it comes to
hello.
their implementation.
Hello.
And finally,
Just-
my last slide will be on what will happen in New Delhi, where the 9th session of the governing body will meet later.
Just a minute. Well,
Hello.
So I hope it's okay for you now that
Well,
you see my screen, because this is also a slide with quite a lot of text describing the origin of farmers' rights, because that is part of.
Can you listen to me?
It originated in debates in FAO in the 1980s. In 1983.
Well, can you just listen to me? Hello. ये अनम्यूट करो यार इनको.
सर मैं रिक्वेस्ट कर रहा हूँ.
Well, क्यों? Hello. Well.
Sir, can you call him personally?
Well, can you please? He's in Norway. Well, can you listen to me?
Just wait, sir. I'm doing something.
Think. Well. Well, can you listen to me? No. I think she's not listening. No.
She lost our audio, sir.
Well.
Might be disconnected.
Well. Hello. Hello. Can we just hello Abid?
Yes, sir.
इनको एक बार कैसे करें इनको यार?
सर मैं कर रहा हूँ एक मिनट.
नहीं.
Chat में please.
एक बार या तो बाहर कर दें इनको.
कर दिया मैंने सर. मैं अंदर ले रहा हूँ वापस.
हेलो. हेलो बेल.
जी. बैनर लगा दो. ठीक है.
She's there.
Yes, she is there, sir. But no.
Can we just remove her? क्या करें? How to do that?
Sir, someone has to contact him. एक्चुअली उनकी ना प्रेजेंटेशन सर स्क्रीन पे है और उनको पीछे कुछ नहीं दिख रहा है.
क्या कर रहे हैं यार? तो बड़ा
सर कोई कांटेक्ट कर सकता है हमको?
नहीं, वो फोन नहीं उठा रही ना। या तो ये उनको बाहर कर दें अभी। हाँ, रिमूव करा है उनको। मैंने अभी कांटेक्ट किया है मैडम को। हेलो।
यस सर।
मैंने अभी कांटेक्ट किया है, वो मेरे को स्लाइड्स भेज रही हैं।
ठीक है।
तो यहाँ से हम शेयर करते हैं उनको फिर।
ठीक है।
या I'm waiting for slides. आपने hello.
जी sir.
I'm waiting for slides. I could not get it yet. Okay. Madam को आपने, did you make her the host?
Yes, yes sir. Yes.
Belle, can you unmute yourself?
She's unmuted, sir.
Yes, she's on unmute now. But I don't know. It is taking too long to get her slides. Belle, can you listen to my voice? Hello. Hello. अर्पित मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ जी sir, आ रही है.
She is not getting my voice.
हाँ, not getting a voice. Hello, ma'am.
Lost. Let me call her.
Hello, can you hear me from my cell phone?
Yes.
Yes, I think maybe it's better I try this way, so apologies. I don't know what lunch might be.
I'm waiting for your slides, but it's still not received.
Okay, it's a bit heavy, maybe.
So no problem. You can.
But did you see my screen when I shared it?
Yes, ma'am. I saw it, but afterwards it's gone.
As soon as your slides are received, I will share it. You can start speaking on this topic, please.
Yes, I think we shouldn't waste more time. So apologies for that.
No.
So we were about the history of farmers' rights as it was coined, part of discussions in the 1980s. And when the CBD was adopted in 92, it was agreed that the undertaking should be updated to a legally binding instrument to address particularly the issue on also farmers' rights, because it was considered to be an outstanding issue. So the International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture is an international instrument for the management and conservation of crop genetic resources. The objective of the treaty mirrors the objective of the Convention on Biological Diversity, which are conservation, sustainable use, and fair and equitable benefit sharing adopted to plant genetic resources for food and agriculture. And farmers' rights is a cornerstone in the implementation of the treaty. And it's recognized in Article 9, where it stresses that farmers are guardians of genetic diversity. And Article 9 starts with saying that contracting parties recognize the enormous contribution that the local and indigenous communities of farmers of all regions of the world have made and will continue to make for the conservation and development of plant genetic resources, which constitute the basis of food and agriculture production throughout the world. And these rights are also recognized in the preamble, and there are many also other supporting articles in the treaty. Article 9 also stressed that the responsibility for realizing farmers' rights rests with national governments. It mentioned possible measures, what contracting countries can do to implement farmers' rights. And these are the protection of traditional knowledge, the right to equitable participate in benefit sharing, the right to participate in decision making, and it also addresses any rights that farmers have to save, use, exchange and sell farm saved seeds and propagating material. And there are also supportive provisions in the treaty. For example, that in the preamble, it's also stressed the need to promote farmers' rights also at the international level, in addition to the national level. And Article 5 regarding conservation says that contracting parties should promote and support farmers and local communities' efforts to manage and conserve on farm their crop genetics. And Article 6 on sustainable use have provisions for contracting parties to enhance sustainable use, promote participatory plant breeding, the use of local varieties, on-farm diversity, and to review and adjust regulations on variety release and seed distribution. In order to kind of understand farmers' rights, Regine Andersen, a research professor at Fridtjof Nansen Institute, has suggested described two different approaches in understanding on farmers' rights. And she called this the stewardship and the ownership approaches. So when genetic resources were considered as common heritage of mankind as provided in the international undertaking, where genetic resources should be freely harvested, used and shared, that is a key element of a stewardship approach. But with the emergence of biotechnologies in the second half of the last century, there was also then an increasing demand for protection of innovation from companies in terms of patents and plant variety protection. And the Union for Protection of Plant Varieties was established in the 60s with revision of its act in 78 and 91. And with the negotiations in the World Trade Organization with the Agreement on Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights adopted in 94, that is really a key ownership approach. And when demands for regulation on access and benefit sharing under the negotiations towards the Convention on Biological Diversity adopted in 92, they followed the logic of ownership approach, how they framed their system on access and benefit sharing. So when the negotiations of the treaty was to be started after the adoption of the Convention on Biological Diversity in 92, it was a question how to combine the two. And the two approaches to farmers' rights could be further explained in this way. They are more deliberately explained in Regine Andersen's publication, Realizing Farmers' Rights to Crop Genetic Diversity, where the stewardship approach, the goal is to protect farmers' crops, varieties and knowledge from extinction, and thus to encourage their further use. And benefits are to be shared between custodians of agrobiodiversity and society at large through national and international measures. And legislation should shape and uphold the legal space for farmers to continue maintaining crop genetic diversity. The ownership approach, on the other hand, the goals are to protect farmers' varieties and knowledge from misappropriation and enable its holders to make decisions over use. Benefits are to be shared between purported owners and buyers of genetic resources upon prior informed consent and on mutually agreed terms. Legislation should balance intellectual property rights for farmers, registering their varieties with plant breeders' rights. So when looking at the different possible measures on farmers' rights, let me just quickly then share some of the examples with having these classes on ownership and stewardship approach. Protection on traditional knowledge. Then protection against extinction is here a photo from Peru, where a farm is showing a catalogue of potato varieties. And by describing all the local varieties of potatoes within this catalogue, the knowledge from the old elder people in the local community are well documented through text and photos. And in this way, it supports helping to keep the knowledge both about the varieties themselves and their use live. And another example could be mentioned, an approach is a community registry in Bohol in the Philippines, where they register all the local varieties, and by this establishing prior art as a method for protection against misappropriation. Participation in benefit sharing is another element of farmers' rights, which means like sharing the benefits between the society at large and farmers who are contributing. And examples of non-monetary benefits could then be participatory plant breeding, and the photo up to the right here is from a release of a new bean developed through participatory plant breeding in Honduras with increased iron content. Other examples are establishing community seed banks and seed fairs, and the photo to the bottom right is from a seed fair in Malawi. And in addition, you have capacity building and reintroducing traditional varieties and populations. All these are important measures for food security. Farmers' rights to participate in decision-making at the national level are also important of realizing farmers' rights. And an example from the photo here is the Norwegian farmers. We have a few farmers still very keen on growing traditional varieties and keeping them alive and enhancing our knowledge about their potential new uses. And our seed legislation in Norway was amended in 2004, making it very rigid about which varieties that could be registered, making all traditional varieties illegal in a way. Due to very active participation from farmers, we made an amendment to the seed legislation in 2010, which then also led to the end of the prohibition area of using traditional varieties. What is maybe the most debated rights of farmers are farmers' rights to save, use, exchange, and sell farm-saved seed, which could be understood that there's a need for creating legal space for farmers with regard to intellectual property rights and seed laws. And it's important to have formal and farmer seed systems, both to make their contribution to the global genetic pool and therefore also for food security. And a pioneering example in this regard is then how India has adopted a joint PVP and Farmers' Rights Act in more than 20 years ago, and it's still I think the best law trying to really create a legal space for farmers in terms of their right to save, use, exchange, and sell farm-saved seeds. But so even though they are like examples of implementation of farmers' rights, in the early years of the treaty, it was little progress and on how to support contracting parties to implement Article 9. And in order to at least to have some movement and enhancement in common understanding of what farmers' rights are, there were initiatives to have consultations. So our first informal consultation was conducted in Zambia in 2007, and quite a few participants participated there, looking into how to different measures of enhancing the realization of farmers' rights. But they could come when we look at the numbers of participants at the next consultation, it seems that farmers' rights is increasing in the awareness and involvement of more stakeholders and countries, and particularly when we come to the next global consultation that took place in Indonesia in 2016. Almost 100 participants from all countries representing all the FAO regions, with many stakeholder groups and farmer representatives. And the purpose of this consultation was to create a space where a group of people representing major stakeholders could exchange views and experiences related to farmers' rights. And through this exercise, the organizers also hoped that participants would get new ideas and inspirations on how to strengthen the realization of farmers' rights in their own countries, as well as contributing to a common understanding of farmers' rights. And as a first step there, the conference or consultations shared different experiences on why farmers' rights matter, and documenting different examples on how farmers are custodians and innovators of seed diversity. And at the top, photo to the top there is Pepe, a former Secretary of the Commission on Genetic Resources, who was heading the negotiation of the treaty, sharing a lot of experience from around the world, among others, when he met the melon farmer, which is also on the photo here, during his PhD studies. And Pepe was collecting diversity of melons when he met this farmer on his way back from a field trip, and the melon farmer turned out to have resistant varieties, fungus-resistant varieties, and this trait was later incorporated into commercial breeding program as one of many, many examples of how farmer seed systems are reservoirs of important plant genetic resources for food and agriculture. In addition, farmer seed systems are main source of seeds in many countries and important for local cultures. During the consultations, a lot of experiences on these typical measures were shared, and it was also clearly identified several challenges, how to further, even though there are many like good, more individual examples on farmers' rights, there are really key challenges. And these include seed regulations, intellectual property rights, and there's a dominant focus on formal seed sector, neglecting farmer seed systems, lack of participation, and there's a need to document all this good practice and scaling them up. And there are limited technical capacity, need of guidance and support. So based on the deliberations, the co-chairs of the consultation, Carlos Correa from Argentina and Regina Andersen from Norway, compiled recommendations to the governing body of the treaty, which included proposal to establish an expert group on farmers' rights. And this led to, I would say, contributed to the breakthrough for farmers' rights at the 7 sessions in Kigali in 2017, because at that governing body meeting, all the contracting parties of the treaty agreed to the need to establish an ad hoc technical expert group on farmers' rights. And this was the very first time a formal intersessional process was agreed to. And the terms of reference was very clear: to produce an inventory of national measures that may be adopted, best practices and lessons learned from the realization of farmers' rights as set out in Article 9 of the International Treaty. And based on the inventory, develop options for encouraging, guiding, and promoting the realization of farmers' rights. So then the group started to work. We have had several meetings. I have had the pleasure of co-chairing this together with Rakesh. The group was very broad, representatives, more than 40 members from all the FAO regions, farmer representatives and stakeholders. And even though the terms of reference were very clear, how to make an inventory was up to us to develop. And this slide shows the evolution of the inventory. So thanks to the Secretariat of the Treaty for providing this illustration, where we at the first meeting of the expert group reviewed different views and experiences and decided on a template for collecting information to make that everybody who submitted views and experiences should follow the same standard template of what kind of information that was useful for us to have. And then we agreed to a structure for this inventory, including categories, which I will explain later. And at the second meeting, we managed to finalize a draft inventory, which was presented to the 8th session of the governing body, and they endorsed the structure and renewed the mandate, so the expert group also could finish its work on options. And later now, the electronic version of the inventory is finalized and now available on the website, and an updated version will be presented at the 9th session of the governing body. And here is an illustration of how the work of the expert group is based. First, we request or invite contracting parties and all other stakeholders to submit views and experiences under the realization of farmers' rights using the template developed by the group to include the history, content, achievements, lessons learned, etc. And all these examples become part of the inventory. And we group then all the different submissions under 11 categories. And based on this, the group has developed options that are organized based on the same categories as in the inventory. And there are several options under each category. And the group has now developed draft options for all categories, which I will come to now very soon. But first, these are the categories for farmers' rights measures. One is about the recognition of local and indigenous communities, such as awards. Second, financial contributions. 3, to encourage income-generating activities. And 4, about protecting of traditional knowledge through catalogs and other forms of documentation, etc. So these are the different categories. All submissions in the inventory are available under these categories. And under these categories, we have also then developed options. So if you search the inventory online, you will then find many different different submissions. So far, more than 200, around 230, and there are room for more submissions. But let me then quickly turn to some of the challenges on farmers' rights. One has been the focus on formal seed sector, neglecting farmers' seed systems. And the seed systems is a direct link between seeds, crop diversity, and food security. And the formal seed system could be described in a linear system, like the orange to the left, while the farmer seed system is a more holistic system with seed selections and farmer-saved seeds being a key component. And they are many different ways of then strengthening the informal or farmer seed systems, while the formal system is mainly supported by legal measures such as intellectual property rights. And strengthening their farmer seed systems could be considered a way to strengthen seed security. FAO has defined seed security as existing when men and women within the household have sufficient access to quantities of available good quality seed and planting materials of preferred crop varieties at all times in both good and bad cropping seasons. And this is particularly the options under category 6 are addressing these elements, which is about establishing, for example, community seed banks, organized on support farmer seed festivals, etc. Another challenge relates to seed regulations and intellectual property rights. And at the 8th session of the governing body, it was a proposal by one contracting party that all options developed in the expert group should be in line with UPO 91. Obviously, it was no agreement to this. One is, of course, that it's a bit different membership, which countries are adhering to the treaty and which are members of UPO. But also this illustration of how to describe potatoes. It illustrates how the UPO system is not sufficient to cover all the diversity there is. And so these illustrations are from a presentation by Ximena Cadima from Bolivia about their work on registration of farmers' varieties there. So the UPO descriptors of potato is to the left, to the bottom left, which doesn't really provide a lot of differences, while the more diverse figures are from how the SIP describe the different shapes of potatoes. But still, there are some interesting processes in UPO looking into how to expand the possibilities of farm-saved seeds. Article 15.1 in the UPO Convention says that acts done privately and for non-commercial purposes are exempted from the breeder's right, meaning that farmers, if they do save seeds from their harvest, and you could consider it private and non-commercial, they should continue to be allowed to do so. And there is a process initiated by Plantum, which is a Dutch seed sortium, Oxfam, and Euroseeds to expand this understanding. But still, it is very limited when you look at the need for legal space for farmers' rights, and which is also got the interest of the special rapporteur on the right to food, Michael Fakri, and he also shared his perspectives on farmers' rights in regard to UPO and other elements as well. So if you recall very briefly that from the very beginning in 1983, when the undertaking was adopted, there was some reservation by OECD countries linked to plant variety protection, and still this is one of the outstanding issues to find further common ground among contracting parties in the treaty. Because category 10, legal measures, the expert group did not manage to finalize its work. So what will be presented to the governing body session in September will be options drafted as a proposal by the co-chairs. Just a quick note on the challenge of financial support. There is also one category addressing this, for example, encouraging voluntary contributions to the benefit sharing fund of the international treaty. And I put a photo of the Svalbard Global Seed Vault up to the right, because this is the Svalbard Global Seed Vault is a backup of the world's gene bank collections, and is really part of the ex situ part of the conservation system. But at the official opening in 2008, Norway wanted to stress the complementarities and need also for in situ on-farm conservations. And ever since, we have contributed annually to the benefit sharing fund. And just recently, the secretary of the treaty, Kenton Dorsey, was in Norway, and the Norwegian State Secretary announced again the annual contribution to the benefit sharing fund. So, apologies for running late. This is my last slide now, because what is next? We have now the draft options to be considered at the next session of the governing body. The host country, India, has suggested celebrating the guardians of crop diversity as a theme for this session. And I couldn't think about a perfect way of then have further discussions on farmers' rights. Their contracting parties will take a decision whether to adopt the draft options document, and maybe also consider what could be other means of promoting the realization of farmers' rights, how to progress further. Should there be other new consultations? Is there a need to develop guidelines, as the options are very brief, and further need of capacity buildings? All these are questions that the contracting parties, together with other stakeholders and farmers' representatives, will delve into when we meet in New Delhi in September. So thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to questions if there might be anyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Belle, for giving an overview of what's going on in different countries, what's going on under the TT, what's going on in the UPOB. And you have nicely covered, I think, as a cornerstone, the importance of these farmer rights as per the provisions of the TT. And the Article 5 about the conservation and the other articles which are connected with this farmer rights and this TT. And you have rightly told the Regina's viewpoint, stewardship and ownership, really they are the two important approaches to stop the extinction or to give the legal rights to the farmers. So a lot of things, even about the traditional knowledge, even for the benefit sharing, and the most important provision for the farmers' rights, that how we can give the rights to the farmers for saving, using, and exchanging these farm-saved seeds, and even to sell it. So all those things which the India is proud of. India has really enacted the law and has a balance of breeders' rights and this farmers' rights. That's really something which we are the forerunner and which we have taken a lead from the Indian side. And you have covered even the challenges, what are the formal challenges, and I fully agree. In the next GB meeting, which India is going to host in the month of September, we have to just decide that what is the future course of action to implement these farmers' rights as per the recommendations of this ad hoc technical expert group, and based on the further directions from this governing body. So it's really a dream for all of us to realize the farmers' rights across the world. Let us see how globally we can adopt this and give importance to the farmers, so that we can have the food security, we can have the conservation of the seed diversity. That's really something we are looking for. We have a few questions. Mr. Sunil is asking, we have a balance of farmers' rights and the breeders' rights which are coexisting in India. Why such things are not being adopted by the other countries across the world? You have any viewpoint, Belle, about this?
Could you please kindly repeat the questions? I didn't get the full.
Dr. Sunil Lerchak, he is asking, when there is an example of farmers' rights and breeders' rights, which are coexisting in India, why more countries are not coming forward to have this example of farmers' rights?
A very good questions. I think there are a few, India law, it is a PNA law. But there are a few other countries having similar elements, particularly in Asia countries, Thailand, Malaysia, etc., who have a sui generis plant rarity protection. But I think it is easier maybe that maybe the UPOV convention is more known, and maybe it's also more actively promoted. So maybe this is a challenge for India, that you could maybe share more your experiences, because I think it's very valuable lessons learned for other countries.
Thank you, thank you. Now people, one of our audience, Dr. Partha, is interested to know something about this Svalbard global facility in the Norway.
Okay, yes. So Svalbard Global Seed Vault was established by the government of Norway, and it opened in 2008. And the purpose is to provide a possibility and offer to the gene banks of the world to have safety duplications of their collections. And Norway run this seed vault together with the Nordic Gene Bank and Crop Diversity Trust. So all gene banks around the world, national, international, local, are invited to send safety duplications of their seed to the seed vault. The conditions are on black box conditions, meaning it's only the gene bank depositing the seeds there who will be allowed to withdraw them. So it is part of a really backup system. And then with the understanding that the gene bank collections, availability to the gene bank collections should be through the gene bank themselves.
Good. Dr. Sharma is asking, do you have some case studies in the developed nations regarding the farmers' rights for protection against the innocent infringement? You can see in the chat box the last question.
Innocent infringement. That means if they innocently in a way use protected material.
In India, we have this provision of innocent infringement.
Yeah.
So if a farmer is innocently infringing the rights of any breeder, so if he is selling the protected variety, or if he is selling some IPR protected seed, so he cannot be sued in any court of law. So do you have some such examples in the developed countries?
I'm not aware of any specific other example, but I will not exclude that there might be. And since India has this specific measure, I would also encourage you to submit it explicitly to the inventory on particularly this topic, because then it will be searchable for others as well.
Yeah, it's a very good provision, and we cannot ask any farmer to go to the court and then spend the money to protect themselves. So that's really very good provision.
Yeah.
So,
what is quite often claimed, at least, is that there are very few cases where companies have actually sued farmers in the global south.
Thank you.
So these are issues also a bit linked to the discussions in ICAR, when we're looking into how possible to broaden the scope of Article 15.1 on what could be considered private and non-commercial, because if subsistence farmers, they use and exchange seeds, it could be considered non-commercial since it's at such small scale. But there are different views among UPO members, so we will see how far that process will go.
Good. So thank you very much, Bell, for replying to the questions and for giving the response to the queries, to the questions of our audience. And our audience, they are really a very learned audience. They have a lot of experience about the importance of the farmers' rights. So we look forward for more insights in the future. And I know it is too early morning in the Norway, but still you could find time, and maybe you are on leave. So thank you very much for sparing time and for being part of this 75 lecture series of India for this to celebrate the independence. And thank you once again on behalf of my all participants, audience.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and congratulations again on your celebrations. And thanks to India for hosting the next session of their governing body. I really look forward to come visiting your country.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks.